tua class and all the
For the presenters today, are you ready to present your materials, your understanding
Ready,
for our current
ma'am.
meeting today? And what about the members?
Liga, Emma, are you ready?
Are the members complete already?
Ready, inshallah.
Okay. Okay. If the presenters has been ready, so the time is yours.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this opportunity. Okay, Emma, will you please help to share the screen, please? Hello, Emma.
Please wait a minute.
Okay. Liga, will you please help to share the screen? Okay, wait. Please wait, everyone. I think something happened.
mikirnya kenapa.
Pak Tuhu, will you please help to share the screen, Pak Tuhu?
Tolong kirim ke saya.
Oke, ditunggu ya, Pak.
Sudah, Bu?
Oke, thank you, Mr. Tuhu, for helping. Oke, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So, how are you today? Is it good?
Great.
Great, Alhamdulillah. Okay,
Thank you.
yes, the Honorable Dr. Rina as our lecturer and all my beloved friends here. Today, Emma, Liga, and I will be presenting on the topic applying critical theories in language research. Okay, unlike traditional approaches that often view language as natural, critical theories explore how language reflects and reinforces power, identity, and ideology. So, this presentation will briefly introduce key concepts of critical theory and demonstrate how they can be applied to analyze language in more socially aware and inclusive ways. Let's begin. Next slide, Mr. Tuhu. Okay. Next slide. Yeah. So in this slide, here's the overview. We will sum up all the theories that we had learned and see where it applied. In here, we have 11 theories. The first, second, third, and fourth, there are structuralism from Saussure, Todorov, Roland Barthes, and Greimas. And then next, new criticism theory. And then number 6 here, semiotic in language and literature teaching from Roland Barthes and Charles Sander Peirce. Next, there are critical discourse analysis from Norman Fairclough, Tan A. Van Dijk, Ruth Wodak. And then the last one is the function of language, Roman Jacobson. Okay, next slide, Mr. Tuhu. Mr. Tuhu. Next slide. Okay. In here, structuralism
Saya
from...
download bentar, maaf,
Yeah.
bentar.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tuhu. I have bad signal here. Signal error, Mr. Tuhu. Thank you for helping. The third slide, Mr. Tuhu.
Halo, Bu?
Slide 3, Pak. Mohon izin. Oke. Bagaimana, Pak Tuhu? Okay, thank you, Emma, for sharing the screen. The third slide, please. Okay, next slide, Emma. Patuhu or Emma?
Saya, Miss.
Oh iya. Emma sudah share screen, Patuhu? Oke.
Sudah terlihat?
Oke, Emma, thank you. So next, the first one is about structuralism from Saussure, and then what can be learned from Saussurian structuralism in literary research? In here, we know that Saussure is about language as a system of sign. There are signifier and signified. In literary research, this helps us analyze how meaning is constructed within a text rather than simply interpreted or assumed. And then the second from Saussure, we learn arbitrariness of the sign. And then this allows researchers to explore variations of meaning within a literary text based on cultural, historical, and social context. And the third, langue and parole. In literature, we can study how an individual text parole reflects, uses, or diverges from the broader language system. Next slide, Emma. Okay, so the conclusion from Saussurean structuralism helps literary researchers focus on the text itself and its internal structures rather than external factors like the author's biography, and then understand literature as a network of signs that systematically produce meaning and explore how meaning arises from the relationship between elements, not from any single element in isolation. Next slide, Emma. Okay, and then here's the theory that applied in journal, guys. Yeah, the title is here is about analysis of Ferdinand de Saussure semiotic as representation of humanity value in the Cold movie. So in here, it analyzed the value of humanity, which has represented through scenes, dialogues, and settings. Next slide, Emma. Okay, next, the second theory about structuralism uh, from Todorov. Yeah, what can be learned from Todorov structuralism in literary research? The first one is narrative have a fixed structure, and then Todorov also have 5 stages of narrative. The first one, we know that there is equilibrium, where the story begins in a state of normal or balance. And then the second, disruption, a problem or conflict disturb the balance. The third, recognition. The fourth, repair. And the last one is new equilibrium. Next slide, Emma. And then Todorov also learned about to help analyze story structure. Todorov model makes it easier for literary researchers to identify key elements in the plot and then distinguish the central conflict and its resolution, and then compare narrative structures across different works. And then the last here, emphasis on structure, not content. Todorov focus on how a story is built rather than what it means. This approach encourages a more objective analysis, concentrating on the form of the story rather than its moral or philosophical message. So, this structuralist approach can be applied to novel, short stories, films, and dramas. Next slide, Emma. Okay, guys, so here's also the theory that applied in journal. The title is here, Family Communication Dynamics, Equilibrium with Dialectical Tension in Turning Red film. So the movie in here is Turning Red. So in here, the researcher tries to find the equilibrium in family communication. The researcher used Stefan Todorov narrative analysis, and also Todorov divided the analysis into 5 stages, starting from equilibrium until there is a new equilibrium. So in here, this research shows that the dialectical tension coloring the film is stability versus change and integration versus autonomy. Next slide, Emma. Okay, the third theory is structuralism from Roland Barthes. Okay, in here, what can be learned from Roland Barthes structuralism in literary research? The first one, we learned that text as a network of signs. Barthes viewed the literary text as a web of signs, not a singular word with a fixed meaning. And also, every word, symbol, and structure in a text can be analyzed as part of a complex system of meaning. The second from Roland Barthes is emphasis on the reader. In his famous essay, The Death of the Author, Barthes argued that meaning is not determined by the author, but rather constructed by the reader. And then this opens up literary research to multiple interpretations based on the reader's background and perspective. Next slide, Emma. And also application in literary research based on this theory that analyze how signs and symbol function within literary texts, and then explore how meaning is generated by the reader, not just the author, and then uncover dominant ideologies or cultural myth embedded in literature, and then investigate the multiplicity of interpretations in open-ended text. Next slide, Emma. Okay, from this theory, the journal, the title is Analisis Film Coco dalam Teori Semiotika Roland Barthes. Okay, so this paper tells about the sign from the movie Coco. Okay, next slide. Okay, the last theory from structuralism is from A.J. Greimas. Greimas learned about actantial model. Greimas developed a narrative structure based on 6 actants, conceptual roles that may be filled by characters, objects, forces, or ideas. These actants form the core function of a story. So there are 6 actants from Greimas. The first one, subject, the main character who seeks something, and then object, the goal or item the subject seeks, and then sender, receiver, helper, and the opponent, the one who oppose or obstruct the subject. Next, Emma. Okay, here the example in the movie Harry Potter, if we use A.J. Greimas theory. So the subject is Harry Potter, and then the object is defeating Voldemort, and then the helper is Hermione and Dumbledore. The opponent is Voldemort and Death Eaters. The sender from this movie is the need for peace, and then the receiver is the wizarding world. So application in literary research from this theory is helps to map out the function of characters and story elements clearly, and then can be applied to traditional tales, modern novels, films, and also plays, and suitable for analyzing the narrative structure without relying on character psychology. Okay, next slide, Emma. Okay, so here's also the theory that applied in journal. So the title here is Actants in James Dessner, The Maze Runner. Okay, so the object here is the Maze Runner, A.J. Greimas' narratological study. So this paper tells about the actants and the structure of the story. Okay, next, another theory will be explained by Emma. Emma, please, time is yours.
My voice.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Yes,
wabarakatuh.
Emma, very clear.
Okay, I do apologize before because there's trouble in my Zoom.
You live in Gunung Sindur, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. The signal is very bad.
The mountain, Mr. Han.
Okay, thank you, Miss Putri, for the explanation. Very crystal clear. Okay, so now I will continue explain our presentation. The next, I will introduce you three approach to analyze literary work, and they are new criticism, semiotic by Roland Barthes, and semiotic by Charles Sanders Peirce, which this approach can help us to understand literary work from different angle for a deeper analysis. Okay, as we can see here, according Wimsatt, new criticism theory is focused on the formal aspects that are present in the text without considering the author history or other outside information. It means when we read and analyze a literary work, we should pay attention only to what is written, such as story, the word, the symbols, and the message inside the text. So we don't need to pay attention to think about who is the author is, what the author personal background, and any other event that might change our opinion. And this approach can help us to understand the literary work purely and objectively. Okay, there is an example, a journal that used the new criticism approach entitled Sears Struggle to Fight Against Beauty Standard in Madeline Miller Sears, a new criticism study. This journal written by Mutiara Anugrah, Usman Nurdian, and Rizal Octavianto from Universitas Erlangga. Okay, the journal study talk about how the main character, Sears, struggle against the beauty standard in the novel Sears by Madeline Miller. The writer used qualitative descriptive analysis, and their finding come directly from the novel content. So it's what we say terlepas, not from the mythology or the author background, and it focused on analyze the character, the plot, the theme, conflict, and symbol that found directly in the novel. Okay, from this journal, it can be concluded that Sears faced three main struggles. The first is discrimination. She's got discrimination due to her look or appearance from other goddess. And she's not considered beautiful like her divine sibling, and this make her an outcast. Okay, the second is the impact of beauty standard on Sears' life. Okay. Sears got the impact. She became isolated because her uniqueness and her power, and it shows how society reject her just for being different. That show the impact of beauty standard on Sears' life. Okay, the next is the struggle to fight against beauty standard in society. Okay, to fight against beauty standard in society, Sears goes through a deep personal journey where she starts to discover her true self and inner power by learn magic and become independent and redefine what the meaning of the beauty itself. The next is the conclusion. Okay, the journal showed that beauty standard can be unfair. The story teach us that woman's worth should not depend on her appearance. Through the lens of new criticism, we can see the protagonist's transformation from rejection to strength. The main message is so clear that the True beauty comes from within, from the strength and staying true to yourself. Okay, the next we going to take a look Roland Barthes approach. According as we know, Roland Barthes semiotic approach, it's talk about the notation, connotation, and also myth. Okay. Okay, so as we can see, there is a journal that use Roland Barthes approach. Wait a minute. Okay. The journal entitled Denotative and Connotative Meaning in the Virgin Movie. 2014, Roland Barthes Semiotic Analysis. Okay, as we can see here, this journal use denotation and connotation to analyze 5 functions in the Virgin Movie. And the 5 functions are erudite, amity, candor, abnegation, and dauntless. But now I'm going to explain you about 2 functions in the Virgin Movie. The first is there is erudite. In the notation meaning, erudite have meaning having or showing great knowledge that is gained from academic study. And the writer classified erudite as academic erudite function. And the connotation meaning is erudite is people are logical and following knowledge. It's shown from datum or evidence. The smart one, the ones who value knowledge and logic, are in erudite. And the second is the dauntless. Okay, according to Oxford Dictionary, dauntless meaning not easily frightened or stopped from doing something difficult. And the writer classified dauntless as the brave dauntless function. In connotative meaning, dauntless is people are fearless. Sorry. As the evidence we can see here or datum, some people think dauntless are crazy. Crazy mean fearless, which that kind of are. Okay, that's it about using Roland Barthes approach to analyze denotation and connotation in the function of the Virgin Movie. If you want to know more about the analyze, I will share it in the group class. Going to talk about semiotic in language and literature teaching by Charles Sanders Peirce. According to Peirce, a sign does not stand alone. It always involves a triadic relationship consisting 3 interconnected elements. The first is representment, the second is object, the third is interpretant. Okay, the representment is the form of the sign, like a picture or word, and the object is what the sign revert to in reality, and the interpretant is the meaning that we as viewer understand from it. Okay, as we can see here, there is a journal that uses Peirce semiotic. entitled The Meaning of Gojek Advertising in the Pandemic Era Using Charles Sanders Peirce Semiotic Analysis. Okay. As we can see here, the replacement is the shooting technique or eye-level shooting angle with using close-up image size that close up the driver of Gojek. And the second is the background of the background of the father being in the car, cleaning the car barrier that separates the driver and passenger. And the father also continues to wear a mask when cleaning the barrier by this, playing the Gojek logo on the barrier that is being cleaned by my father. It showed that this commercial ad was published by Gojek, and there is a verbal message that indicate okay. The verbal message indicate that the father is clearing the transparent barrier to limit himself and the passenger, which indicate the vehicle is still kept clean. That why the driver or the father and passenger and also their family are protected from the risk of controlling the COVID-19 virus. Okay, that show the nonverbal message. And there's also a text. Sorry, the picture is not clear. The text is, kata ibu, ayah begitu buat jagain aku dan kamu. So, the sentence show the function of the barrier that has cleaned by the driver. Okay. So who is the object of this? The object is a father who works as an online motorcycle taxi driver from Gojek is cleaning the vehicle he used for work. And then the interpretation or the meaning that author understand from the object is shows that the driver always prioritize the cleanliness and safety of his passenger and loved one by continuing to wear masks. The father cleared the barrier with the Gojek logo that become a barrier between the driver and passenger. Okay, that's it. The next will be presented by Mr. Liga. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Miss Emma. Okay, the next topic we will discuss about critical distance analysis by Norman Van Clough. CDA analysis definition from Norman Van Clough is a form of distance analysis which aims to systematically explore often opaque relationships of causality and determination between the first one is a discursive, practicized events and text. And the second B is wider social and cultural structures, relations, and process. Next slide, Miss. Sorry, next slide, Miss. Miss Emma, can you hear me? Okay, thank you, Miss Emma. So here's research about critical discourse analysis of Norman Fairclough model on Deddy Mulyadi angry sentences by Tirto.id. So the result of this research is Deddy Mulyadi expressions of anger in public forums, which is widely viral, especially in response to football supporters, are not merely personal emotional, but it is discursive acts that reflect power and ideology. The key findings in this research is we still remember that Deddy Mulyadi said, "This is my forum," or "Ini forum saya." When the supporters show the banner or something, the sentences show possessiveness, intimidation, and assertion of authority. The language that Deddy Mulyadi used in these positions is intellectually and morally superior and portraying others are irrational or disruptive. The second findings is the angry Deddy Mulyadi remarks were made during a public event and were widely covered and amplified by the media. In this research is Tirto.id. This shows how political figures use discourse in public settings and how the media plays a role in reproducing and spreading ideological messages. And the third findings is social practice analysis by Deddy Mulyadi. Deddy Mulyadi used language to control the discourse and assert political dominance and revamp community demands such as, for example, in this event, sport enthusiasm as secondary to his development agenda. There is a clear power imbalance, like political elites define public discourse while marginalizing local identity symbols like the football club. And next slide, Miss. Okay, the next is critical discourse analysis by Teun van Dijk. CDA is a type of discourse analytical research that primarily studies the way social power abuse, dominance, and inequality are enacted, reproduced, and resisted by text and talk in the social and political context. So I have a journal. Next slide, Miss. So this research CDA using Teun van Dijk model on the hashtag Kabur Aja Dulu which is viral recently in Kompas.com news channel. The result of this research is Kompas.com frames the hashtag Kabur Aja Dulu discourse in a way that reflects both of the youth disappointment with current socio-political conditions and a nationalistic call for resilience. It is used structure, language, and editorial strategies aligned with government perspective. Next slide, Miss. Okay, the breakdown of the findings using Van Dijk 3-level CDA model. The first one is macro structure or the main theme. The articles present youth frustration and desire to immigrate as a reaction to unfavorable government policies. The narrative frames these sentiments as a social phenomenon rather than isolated individual response. And the second is superstructure or text structure. The article falls deliberate narrative structure. They combine digital virality with ending with moral nationalistic overtones. The next findings is microstructure or language use. This contrast, for example, kabur aja dulu or illusion of nationalism. So that's it, the CDA model Van Dijk applying on literature for the hashtag kabur aja dulu in kompas.com news channel. Next slide, Miss. Okay, the third is critical discourse analysis by Ruth Wodak. Wodak emphasizes that CDA should draw on multiple disciplines such as sociology, history, linguistics, and political science to understand how language functions in real-world social problems. Next slide, Miss. And here's the research that using CDA by Ruth Wodak in the Bocah-Bocah Kosong in YouTube channel video. The result of this research is using CDA by Ruth Wodak. The first one is cognitive dimension. The production team deliberately planned and scripted content to emphasize the naivety, the stupidity, and sexual appeal by the talent, and characters were framed as empty or bocah-bocah kosong. It means the show's is concept of ignorance as entertainment. This framing serves marketing strategies such as exploiting the trending use of Cindo or Chinese Indonesian female talent in their video. The second is socio-psychological shape through gender and cultural stereotypes. The show reinforms uneducated jokes such as physical objection and like their humor are broke, while talents themselves show discomfort. Okay, here's the findings of this research. Next slide, Miss. The last one is language context by Roman Jacobson. The context plays a crucial role in communication. It shapes how language is used to refer to the world or referential function, and it's one of 6 essential parts of the communicative act that determine how we use and interpret language. Next slide, Miss. The 6 essential parts are: the first one is expressive, second directive, the third referential, the fourth metalinguistic, the fifth is phatic, and the sixth is poetic. This research language function used by the main character in Sherlock Holmes in a Game of Shadows movie. The most dominant type of language function in this movie is metalinguistic. It means that the main character conveys code analysis by asking questions to the people so that he might invent clue for the sake of his investigations. Next slide, Miss. Okay, that's it from our group presentation. We open the question and answer session. So if you want to ask, you can raise your hand or you can open your mic. Thank you for your nice attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Is there any question, Bapak Ibu? Okay, there are, oh yeah, Pak Tuhu, please.
Okay, thank you very much for all the occasion. My question is, what strategies can teachers use to integrate critical literacy into language instruction?
Okay,
That's
thank
my
you.
question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tuhu, for the questions. Next, Miss Twinnie. Yes, please.
Thank you, Ms. Putri. My question is, what are the key differences between applying traditional theories and critical theories in language learning?
Okay, thank you, Miss Twinnie. One more question, guys.
Okay, from me,
Oh, yes, Miss Ayu, please.
my question is, who does your cultural background influence your interpretation and application of critical theory in language education?
Okay, thank you, Miss Ayu, for the question. So we already have the questions. The first question from Pak Tuhu. Miss Emma, will you please help to answer the question from Pak Tuhu?
Okay.
Yes.
Patuhu question is, what strategies can teacher use to integrate critical literacy into language instruction? Is that right? Is that true?
Yes, Miss Rahma.
Okay. Okay, I'll try to answer Mr. Tuhu question. Okay. To integrate critical literacy into language instruction, first, we can use reading material that focus on current social issue. This tech makes learning relevant and encourage students to connect language with new issue that happen right now. And the next, we as a teacher can asking critical question about the text, such as what social issue is being discussed in the text and what is the outer purpose or message, and many others. And after that, we can do open class discussion with the student, which is this allows students to share their opinion and listen different perspective from their friends. And through this discussion, we can also know how deeply students understand the text and how far they think critically about it. And I think by do the step, we can effectively integrate critical literacy into language lesson and help students become thoughtful reader. Okay, I think that's it. Is it clear enough?
Thank you for your complete explanation or answer, Miss Rahma.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next, I'm trying to answer Miss Twinnie's question. So let me repeat the question. What are the key differences between applying traditional theories and critical theories in language learning? Is that right, Miss Twinnie?
That's right, Miss Putri.
Okay. So I'm trying to give you the comparison of the key differences between traditional theories and critical theories in language learning. Actually, in here, I have 5 points to highlight. So I will give you the explanation each of them. The first one is focus and goal. Okay, traditional theories and critical theories. The traditional theories, actually, we focus on how language is acquired or learned. We learn about grammar rules, behavior patterns, and cognitive processes. And then goal. For traditional theories, we master language structure and fluency. Okay, example like behaviorism, language learned through repetition and reinforcement. And about the cognitivism, we focus on mental process. If we learn critical theories, the focus is on power, identity, culture, and inequality in language learning. And the goal for critical theories is empower learners, promote social justice, and question dominant ideologies. For example, like critical pedagogy, and then feminist theory, and post-colonial theory. The second is the view of the learner. If traditional, the learner is often seen as a natural, passive recipient of knowledge, and then emphasizes individual achievement. If critical, the learner is an active agent shaped by social, cultural, and political contexts, and then encourages questioning of norms and active participation in learning. And then the third one, the difference between traditional and critical. Uh, for role of the teacher, if traditional, the teacher is the knowledge provider or authority figure, and then emphasize on instruction, correction, and standardization. If critical, the teacher is facilitator or co-learner, and then encourages dialogue, reflection, and co-construction of meaning. And the fourth here, from language itself, the difference between traditional and critical. If traditional, language is seen as a natural system of rule and symbols, and then focus on accuracy, grammar, and vocabulary. If critical, the language is a tool of power that can include or exclude, and then focus on discourse, meaning, identity, and ideology. The last one is about curriculum and content. It's also different from traditional and critical. If traditional, curriculum is often fixed and based on standard language form like textbook and exam, and then less room for student voice or local context. If critical, actually curriculum is flexible, context based, and open to negotiation, and include students' lived experiences, local languages, and critical topics like race, gender, and equality. Yes, Miss Twinnie, I hope it can answer your questions.
Yeah, thank you for your explanation, Miss Putri. I get it.
Okay, thank you, Miss Twinnie. Next, the last question from Miss Ayu will be answered by Mr. Lika. Please, Mr. Lika.
Okay, thank you, Miss. The question from Miss Ayu: how does your cultural background influence your interpretation and application of critical theory in language education? Our cultural background shapes how we see the world and what we believe is right or wrong, what we value, and how we communicate. This also affects our application of critical theory in language education. As people from Indonesia, our cultural background strongly influence how we apply critical theory in language education. For example, in English classes, students who speak with a Japanese accent might feel less confident than who can imitate a Western accent. The critical theory helped us to show students that all accents and dialects have value and that language should not be used to judge someone's intelligence or work. And also, it is our Indonesian culture values, community and harmony. Maybe that's it from me, Miss Ayu. Is it clear, Miss?
Okay, thank you very much for your answer, Mr. Liga.
Thank you, Miss Ayu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okay, thank you very much for your answer.
Okay, thank you so much for you guys for paying attention. And then back to Memrina. Thank you.
All right. Well, actually, excellent, yeah, for the current group because you collected all the materials today. Besides of that, you also present several of research article as the sample, even though just slightly. However, for the further understanding, you can read it by individually, yeah. And actually, I'd like to unveil just a little bit beside of our materials that we have already learned today. Let me share my slide first. Wait a minute, yeah. Okay, regarding about applying critical theories for English and literature research. So here the point is you will apply several of critical theories towards kind of research that focus on literary work. So what kind of aspect, what kind of theories that you could apply here? Well, we have already learned several kinds of theories, such as been explained by these presenters today regarding about structuralisms and then semiotic analysis, new criticism, critical discourse analysis, even functions of language, even though it has not been explained. But you have already captured, even though slightly, yeah. And here there are several others critical theory that you could apply in literature research. And firstly, there are overview of my slide here. The first one is traditional literary, been discussed today, right? And then formalisms, new criticisms, Marxisms and critical theory, structuralisms, post-structuralisms, post-colonial criticism, queer theory, culture studies, feminisms, and the last one is psychoanalysis. These are several aspects or several approaches or several theories that you could apply in literature research. Okay, let's begin from the traditional literary criticisms. Firstly, been discussed actually from the questions from who's that? Asking about traditional literature, comparing traditional literary criticism with contemporary or out of traditional literary criticisms. Who's that? The questioner asking about this one? Someone of you asked about this one, right?
This one.
Mbak siapa tadi?
Pak Tuhu ya, Ma'am?
Comparing traditional and modern, right?
Saya.
So if we would
Miss Astrid.
like to do Mbak Emma ya? Who's that, Mbak Emma? Sorry.
Miss Astrid.
Astri. Oh, Miss Astri. Okay. Okay, and your explanation's been correct, yeah. So if we would like to do or conduct a literature research, and we can begin from the traditional one. Particularly you are as the beginner researcher, so this is the easiest one of things because you are only examining about the content, the structures of the contents of the story. Traditional approach to literary criticism examine the author's life. It means that you do a research or conduct a research, look at the author's mind, look at the author's works based on the story on each of literary work itself. And then as well as the culture and historical context surrounding the text, critics utilize information to evaluate how these factors influence. For example, you may depict about the events the plot, the characters, the settings, and so forth. Yeah, this is the simplest one when you would like to begin kind of literature research. And the next one is formalisms. Formalisms is, its name implies prioritize the structural form and literary techniques within a text. This approach focuses on analyzing formal elements, such as the language used in the literary works, and then you are going to analyze formal elements and the technical proficiency, and often regarded as the pinnacle of literary standards. For example, illustrations of formalism is Kolofsky concept of the familiarizations. Yeah. And here, formalisms quite similar with the previous one, traditional literary criticisms. Yeah, you just display about the main character, the major character, and the story, the plot, or so forth. And the next one is new criticisms. We had learned about this actually. New criticism. This is out of the author's mind or author's thought. And new criticism differs from traditional approaches to literary analysis by treating the text as self-contained work of art, separate from its historical context and the author's personal background. And this method refrains from producing emotional or moral interpretations, and prominent figures with the new criticism movement include Clint Brooks, I.A. Richards, T.S. Eliot, Ransom, Robert Warren, and Wim Sartre. And if you would like to, or if you are interested in conducting literature research utilizing or applying this kind of approach, new criticism, so you can do, for example, focusing on the text, such as analyzing figurative language, for examples, and you just only focus on the text displays in the literary work itself. And the next one is Marxisms and critical theory. So Marxism represents a branch of critical theory which provides reader with tools to analyze and interpret literary works, while interpreting of critical theory vary among scholars, and they are typically connected to critics of modernity and contemporary society. So if you would like to analyze about this kind of theory, the focus here is on the society and modern lifestyle and so forth, and concentrating on, for example, capitalism to modernism's integrated societal and cultural structures. It places a particular emphasis on class struggles, aiming to uncover of dominations and exploitations that manifest within the social framework through class-based opposition. For example, if you have ever watched the movie of Great Gatsby, for example, that shows the high-class society and so forth, if you would like to analyze using Marxism and critical theory. And then structuralisms, we come to our discussions so far, yeah, the most we discuss about structuralisms, which gained significant prominence during 50s to 60s, and its primary root in Ferdinand de Saussure. And we have learned about this one. And it's conceptualized language as system of sign, signification, so forth. And then beside of Ferdinand de Saussure, also Greimas, Todorov, Portes, right? Using structuralism perspective. It depends on you which one is the most preference one for you to adopt the theory ones using structuralism theory source approach. And the next one is post-structuralisms, and this is emerging in 60s as a critic of structuralisms. Post-structuralism challenged the notions of language as a closed and stable system. Instead of it highlights the discontinuity between the signifier and the signifier, and this approach places greater emphasis on the reader's interpretations of meaning rather than the author's intended meaning. And the post-structuralism examines both literary text itself and the broader system that influence and shape its creations. For example, you would like to analyze using critical discourse analysis. This is one kind of example of post-structuralisms. And the theorist ones or the expertise ones such as Roland Barthes, Michael Foucault, and Jacques Derrida, with the famous concept one is deconstructions. So this is the opposite of structuralism. His concept is deconstruction. For example, if you have ever watched the movie of Maleficent, have you ever watched the movie of Maleficent?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Angelina Jolie. So far, before the movie of Maleficent, we learned only about Princess Aurora's story, right? Princess, the beautiful, and then getting cursed because of evil witch, and we don't know of the she suddenly came to the palace or castle and giving a curse to the Princess Aurora. And this is kind of like Jacques Derrida thought that actually the story is not only basically on the structurally, but we can deconstruct of the story. Yeah. And the next one is post-colonial criticism. So post-colonial criticism focuses on the examinations of power dynamics and the political and aesthetic relationship in regions subjected to colonial rule. During the 19th and early 20th century, it critically analyzed the impacts of colonialisms and imperialisms. We as a country of the victims of colonialism, so we have a lot of stories actually about post-colonialism criticism, such as Diponegoro, Kartini, rights, perburuan, bumi dan manusia, and so forth, right? So if you are interested on post-colonialism, so you can apply this kind of theory. And the next one is queer theory. This is contemporary theory emerging in 1990s, and it's focusing on LGBT content if you're interested on it. But be careful if you analyze on these ones, because I ever read about researchers that was interested on this kind of theory, and then he blended into his research and becoming the one of LGBT. So be careful on that one. But it's subjective, it's not objective, yeah. So if you are interested, just go on. Okay, for example, if you ever have watched the movie of a Brokeback Mountain and so forth, yeah. So you are going to analyze kind of literary works, LGBT issues. And the next one is cultural studies. Cultural study is an interdisciplinary field that explores culture, of course. So the point here is the cultures. So the content of story, of course, containing of much or dominantly, majorly about the cultural issues in the story. And it can be mixed with anthropology, history, literary studies, and then also politics and also science. And the film aims to raise awareness of contemporary cultural issues, focusing on how meaning is produced and changed with context. Cultural study, for example, if you have ever watched the movie The Last of Samurai, yeah, Samurai, The Last of Samurai, or Moana or Pocahontas, displaying about the culture issues in its story, Coco, and so forth, yeah. And the next one is feminism. Feminism, it's been very clear, I think, and it's very common because the topic, of course, is about the equality of the women in the world's existence, right? And if you are interested on this one, so you can analyzing using feminist theory, yeah, that advocate for the recognition of women's identity and the expression of women's rights, promotion of women's writing, expressions of their experience. Simultaneously, feminists engage in the theoretical critique of the heterosexual matrix that organizes identity and culture around the percent between men and women. For example, the movie Wonder Woman, for example, or Pride and Prejudice, Little Woman, and so forth. Yeah. And the last one is psychoanalysis. And this is a kind of approach, of course, relates to the behavior, attitude, psychological issues that are discussed in the story of the literary works. And you can apply of this kind of theory, which focusing on psychology issues And the theories, famous one is Sigmund Freud, that his analysis in interpreted literature, it explores the unconscious motivations, desires, and conflicts of characters, as well as the symbolic meanings embedded in texts. And psychoanalytic criticism examines themes such as repressions, identity, and the impacts of early childhood experiences on character development. And it also looks at the role of the author's unconscious mind in shaping the text. And this approach seems to uncover hidden meanings and psychology dimensions within the literature, offering deeper insight into both characters and narrative structures. And those are out of the materials that we discussed about where we would like to apply kind of critical theories into literature research, right? Well, actually, ample approaches can be utilized in applying critical theories for English and literature research, beginning from traditional formalism, new criticism, Marxism, structuralism, post-structuralism, post-colonialism, queer theory, cultural studies, feminisms, or psychoanalytic event. And these theories offer the tool to interpret literary work in analysis. However, selecting a theory depends on the object. The objects, such as the data that you use as a researcher. Beside of that, depends on the researcher you are as the researcher, and depends on the experience and also the capacity you as the researcher to accomplish your research. All right, and regarding about the questions of Pak Tuhu, yeah, what are kind of a strategy that we are going to use if we would like to incorporate, yeah, critical literacy pedagogy, right? So if we discuss about critical literacy, it's quite difficult for us actually, or not difficult, but challenging for us, because if we would like to apply kind of critical literacy, so the student should already with a good or well enough in literacy, right? So we can input or incorporate about strategy, particularly in critical literacy. But of course, there are several items that you can consider. For example, it should be relevant to the context of the students. What are the level? What about their literacy level? And then it becomes your consideration to pick or to select kind of literature work that you are going to deliver to your students, right? It should be relevant. And then reflexive. And reflexive, it means that every single of the material that you will be reflexive so far, how extent they already understand, and not only delivering the answer or delivering their the way they answer of the text display or literally displays, but they have to explain interpretation implicitly. They should be trained implicitly, and they have to speak about their own interpretations, and they have to present their reason, their argumentation, this kind of like training their critical thinking. Yeah. And then dialogic. Yeah, dialogic. Dialogic means that the resistance of dialogic here, that you can you can ask the questions, what are the difficulties they face when they read or learn utilizing critical literacy or the text that you deliver to the students. And then empowering, yeah, should be empowering, because I think when we are going to deliver kind of literary work to our students in the context of Indonesian students, right, it's quite challenging, right? So it's empowering is also important. Give them motivations, give them something newness, right? Attractive, interesting to them, that they can engage to our classroom. Those are several strategies that maybe that you can adopt in improving critical literacy into your class. And additional is need analysis is important, as I already mentioned last week, that you should understand what your student need before you are going to apply your methodology, your teaching methods, your material. Need analysis is very important for you. Is it appropriate or not when we are going to give, for example, or share or distribute kind of literary works into our English class and so forth? And analysis is very important. You should understand the objective needs and then subjective needs and require knowledge. Require knowledge means what you should add in their knowledge, comparing to their present knowledge at that time. Yeah. And then you have to observe their necessities and their lack and their want. This is a very important for you if you would like to apply particular or new method or new material to your students. Okay, and then regarding about the cultural, we as the researcher, because our culture background is Indonesian culture, right? So we have to study about cross-cultural understanding, right? Before we are going to understand particular culture, right? Here, particularly or specifically is the literary works that we are going to analyze, right? So we have to understand cross-cultural understanding, right? It's better for you to strengthen your analysis if you have already understood about the cultures of your object data or your literary work that you are going to analyze here. And beside of that, is very important when you are going to do a research. For example, you are going to triangulate your data, and then your theory, and then your informant or investigator to strengthen the validity of your data in your research, and also triangulations of what I call methodology. Yes, methodology. So you can, for example, confirming with expertise, for example, lecturer and expertise in literature field is very crucial to strengthen your validity in your research. I think those are my answer or my explanations about the questions of today. All right. Is there any more questions or any rebuttal from you regarding about my explanations? This is I open about the world of literature research. I do really appreciate actually for the presenters today who had already presenting several research article, even though just the abstract one, yeah. Even though just the abstract one, but the next time maybe you can go up your level. For example, not only displaying the abstract, but you can also displaying the content in a full content. All right, I almost forgot. I'm going to display to you research article. We still have the time, right? Wait a minute, yeah. Something wrong just now? Suddenly I lost. Okay, let me share again. Okay, here is a psychological aspect if one of theories that you can apply if you are interested on literature research. So you can begin from literature. Here, speak about what is literature, definition, and so forth, why it is important, the background of literature of your research. And then you can expose about the movie, what is that, and then about the specific movie that you take as your data, and then the main character that you are going to analyze. And then you can also employ or display previous studies that been research about a psychological aspect in other movies or other literature works. And then you can, next to literature review, displaying literature review, examining what is the definition of main characters, movie, and then psychological aspect, what the definition, and so forth. And then the method here using or conducting in qualitative approach. This is very important for you on understanding methodology of research before you conduct a research, right? And here are the data analytical framework. The researcher here focusing on psychological aspect of human motivations taken from Bernhardt, and consisting of aspect organic needs or appetite, aspect of want, emotions or motive, feelings, attitude as motive, and social motives. And the results display the organic needs or appetites, and the researcher also display the screenshot of the first component or the first aspect of psychological aspect of want, and then emotion or as motive, and feelings and attitude as a motive, social motive. And then this is the recapitulations of the results according to the researcher results in this research article. Yeah, this one is the recapitulations one, and come to the conclusions. It's quite easy actually for you, especially you have already learned about several structuralism theories, right? CDA theories. So you, after learning about that one, so you can apply into your research. Yeah. For example, your data is kind of like speech, kind of like novel, songs, lyric, movie, and so forth, if you are interested on. Okay, that is the example one in psychological aspect. Another example, so you can search it according to your desire, yeah, your patience, which is the point that you are going to analyze. And if you ask about which point that we begins, we should learn the theory first, or we should select the object first. You can do in simultaneously, yeah. So here you have already learned theories run, right? Lines, learning about the theories, you can also select one of literature works that you are interested on. Because it's important for you, you have to read the literature work completely first to take or to understand the majority or the dominant aspects in literature work. Do you understand what I mean? So you have to study first your object first. So it contains majorly or dominantly of what? Does it about feminism? Does analyze in the psychological approach? Does it about post-colonial, the story? So you have to read your data first. You have to study the data first as your object of the data of your research. Okay, that's my last explanations about literature research. Hopefully you are interested at.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is there any additional questions or closing remarks or closing comments from one of you? No more? Okay, if there is nothing more that you can say for me, I think that's all for today. Thank you so much for your attention,
You're
and we are going
welcome.
to meet again next week, inshallah, in online, yeah?
Yes, ma'am. Online.
It's 27, yeah. 27, yeah, it's online. Okay, so it is cancelled because our study program has visitations, yeah, accreditation visitation. So it's changed to or rescheduled into online. So hopefully all of you can understand about its conditions, yeah.
Bismillah.
Bismillah. Please give your pray to our study programs. Yeah, so the result can be
Connectionnya jelek ya?
Ini
Maybe
nge-freeze ya?
bad signal, Miss.
Gara-gara Mary masuk nih.
Belum juga gue on cam.
Ada yang lari, Miss Oni.
Iya, ada penampakan Uni.
Apa itu?